So let's start with the before lecture chant. An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm finishing up the third short installment of engagement that we've been looking at for a couple of Sundays from the book Standing at the Edge by Roshi Joan Halifax. And as you know, there's a lot of encouragement in this chapter to look really closely at our work or whatever it is, whatever activity we are engaged in that serves, and to look at it as practice, as spiritual practice, as just the circle of the way in which nothing is separate from anything else. And our life, in this sense, is our practice. And each moment is a valued opportunity to do that. However, as we saw last week, there's an edge to engagement, like the other four assets, which is burnout, and this mental and physical state of exhaustion, so that we don't actually have what we need to serve others and ourselves. And we're reminded towards the end of this chapter, that there's really no merit in Buddhism for being occupied and preoccupied. And in fact, Roshi says we can't become enlightened from being busy. So the very nature of busyness can take us away from the present moment, from a still space to perceive things as they are, where awakening can actually happen. As we know, Roshi's wisdom and her experience has offered us guidance in how to remain on this higher edge of engagement so that we don't fall over it. And we've discussed work practice, treating our work as an offering to others. We looked at practicing right livelihood, looking closely at what we do, why we do it, and more importantly, how we do it. In other words, doing work that is aligned with our own values. And also last week, we took a quick look at the importance of pausing, just allowing wonder and curiosity and sometimes aimlessness into our lives. So as with the other four edge states, there are tools to help us to stay in balance. And here at the end of this chapter, we're reminded of the power of rest, play, and connection. And for me, these three seemed so very significant and poignant and reminded me of my recent vacation with my extended family up at our cabin for a few weeks that we do every early June. My sister and my nieces and their children come up, and we spend, 6 days or so, 6-7 days. And we began that yearly tradition maybe about 7 years ago. And I was thinking back on these vacations together, and I could really still feel within this framework of rest, play, connection. I could feel this time with my family, but maybe not in the way you think. For a number of years, to be honest with you, this trip was just exhausting for me, even before everybody arrived. And to be honest, it was just, it was really too much stimulation for an introvert, to be honest. And I always seemed really at odds with the whole scene. But, quite a few years ago, things began to shift for me. In good part because I was really taking an honest look at my own behavior, my own feelings, and I was giving time to getting to the roots of my own discomfort. First, I would just wear myself out preparing. And this is really the busyness of caretaking. Taking care of every little thing that my family might need or want, from cleaning and fixing things in the cabin to making just way too many trips to various stores, buying food and toys and whatever we needed, actually. And also picking everyone up, whether they're in San Jose or Oakland. And I relate this busyness on my part really to a penchant at the time of projection, of just projecting and considering every possible need, at least what I perceived, or every possible need of anybody for the time they would be here. And it just wore me out before we even started our vacation. And it's, of course, our wish to do what we can, obviously, to welcome people into our lives and make our time together as good as possible. But my serving them did not include any real thought or action to also serve my own needs, so that I could serve them. I can still sense how this turned to being so unbalanced for me, nearing the edge and then just falling over and staying down there for the whole time they were here. And even then, after everyone was gone, I was still kind of trying to crawl myself back to the other side. And then eventually, I would become grounded again. You know, people ask Roshi a lot about how can she possibly do everything that she does. And it is nonstop engagement for her. And her answer to this is that she rests a lot. And, you know, you might think that this vital, energetic 81-year-old, Roshi, just sort of builds in times for naps and is good at that. And she does do that sometimes. But her answer to this question is really important. And it's something I came to understand in relation to my family over these years. For her, rest is not an escape, which is something I would seek, getting away from things, trying to find a space where I could regroup. No, she speaks of rest that is being at ease, or at least mostly so, right in the midst of everything that is happening. This kind of ease has at its very heart a lack of resistance to whatever is happening, whatever is there in and around us. And this kind of rest includes continuing to be present and balanced and steady. So for me, I started noticing my ability to just stay and fully take in all that was happening. And I began to notice that my judgments and my likes and my dislikes, they just didn't need the kind of space and time that they were used to in the past years. So showing up, staying, and being present, engaging fully. You know, my niece's youngest children now are 4, 7, and 7, and they're just full of exuberance and energy and playfulness. And this is another of Roshi's insights about cultivating steady engagement. We need to play. And she demonstrates this through a story she recounts of actually Shonda Rhimes, a successful TV writer and producer, who obviously regularly had 15-hour workdays, 7 days a week. And the story is that the love that she had for her work, which she described as the hum in her life, suddenly one day just went silent. There was no hum. And with that silence, she felt her whole life was just turned upside down. She questioned who she was, what her life was about, really. And as she lived through this challenging time, she started to be able to hear and receive her daughter's invitations to play. They were always there. She just never paid attention to them. Her children were young, and she was missing out on this important part of their growth, playing. And as a result, her life had a new turn. It had a new hum. It includes a work hum, she says, but it also includes mostly a hum of joy and the hum of love. Life's hum, love's hum. And me too, I realized. I would feel so exhausted by the constant noise and energy and the weight of my own internal complaining that I was always just on the outside of things, I felt. And then again, some years ago, I committed to just being present with the beauty of all of this youthful energy, and I dove into, everything, board games, outdoor games, cards, hide and go seek, t-ball, whatever it was. Hiking up the creek and swimming in freezing water. Engagement and joy and love. And play, as is true for engagement in general, is connection. And connection is the last suggestion that Roshi gives us to support the cultivation and maintenance of balance on the edge and the high edge of engagement. And we talk a lot about connection and Zen. We talk a lot about our interconnectedness to all things. But we all know that busyness and obsession with work and service does take a significant toll on our connections. In fact, we may be using them to actually avoid intimacy with loved ones and actually with what is actually needed of us in the moment, whether it's family, friends, or the world at large. And I can see this and I can sense it so many times in my own life. When keeping busy filled the space, kind of protection. And sometimes it might be busily asking a lot of questions during a conversation, showing great interest, yes, but actually controlling the dialogue so that others wouldn't ask me personal questions, wouldn't get too close. Or just plain filling a void or a difficult time by keeping busy, rather than sitting with what my own thoughts and feelings could actually teach me in that moment. And our engagement, as you know, is always best when it opens toward the heart, our own and that of others. Best when it opens as an offering to others and to the world, whatever it is you might be doing. Roshi includes a poignant quote at the end here. That's from the director of Duke University's Islamic Studies Center. And he's sharing that in Arabic and Persian language. When you want to know how someone is doing, you ask them, how is your heart? And here the word for heart, and the word is H-A-A-L, how. It means the transient state of one's heart. So you're actually asking, at this very moment, at this breath, how is your heart doing? A request for an honest and sincere connection with wholehearted engagement. And he goes on to say, tell me that you are still a human being, not just a human doing. It's so easy to be pushed to the edge by busyness and overwork. But as with the other 4 edge states, we can learn to recognize and to sense how it feels when we are nearing the edge. We can learn to back off just enough so that we can stay grounded on this high side of engagement, so that our work and our service continue to be offerings to others and to the world. And we know that if we don't slow ourselves and we push on, burnout is always available as the wake-up call. Hopefully, we can think about and put into practice some of the wise suggestions Roshi offers us. And in my opinion, none wiser than rest in the midst of things, play hard, and connect wholeheartedly.